Hey everyone, welcome to QWERTYcast. Chill little segment for you today. I'm Kenny, and today we have Joe, Andres, Steven, and Dave with me. Say hello, guys.
Hey.
So as you may know, we played the game Lockdown on Twitch, which will be available on Steam on May 15th. And today we are talking with the developer, Tony, aka Moofins. Thank you for joining us, man. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. First, why don't you tell us about your game and why people should play it?
Sure. So Lockdown is a 2 to 10 person multiplayer survival horror escape game we have it classified as. The goal of the game is to find a key card located hidden within the town and escape through an airlock located at the edge of town. The goal is to obviously survive against other people that are in the game, as well as hordes of undeads that are chasing you around trying to kill you as well. We feel the game is a little bit different than what's out there now because it's not your classic drop in, kill everybody and win. There's more strategy to it. There's sneaking around the map with flashlights and, obviously toggling them on and off. You can play it any which way you'd like. And we feel that it's, it provides a little bit more depth than just jumping in, killing, and moving on to the next thing.
Cool. Yeah, and that's exactly what we kind of experienced when we played it. What did everyone think when we were streaming it on Twitch? I know I had fun. It sounded like everyone was having fun when we were playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I had a blast. My fiance came up behind me and looked at it and asked me about it the other day to talk about it, about what the game was. Yeah, so it even looked interesting to people who clearly weren't playing. So,
Right.
I loved it though. It was a lot of fun to I guess try to figure out everything on the spot and the best ways to win.
Yeah.
It was definitely a great kind of like a party game, especially if you've got a few friends online at the same time.
Really
want to
good
jump
party
in.
game.
The fact that it's capable up to 10 players, I think, is really it offers a lot of opportunity for you to kind of bring your friends in. And then on top of it, just the fact that it's got your standard shooter mechanics, but then it's mixed in with this whole escape mentality is just a really unique genre of game.
Yeah, and the shooting, all the controls and stuff felt really clean too, which made it even more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. The biggest
definitely...
con I had was that Kenny kept winning.
Okay.
It was rigged.
Listen, I just knew how to play the system, guys.
It's just faster pickup on the.
When I found a key card, I would just be really, really quiet for a minute straight and just hope no one saw me. And I think I won once with that strategy.
And with the key card thing, so that being the method of access for escape, I thought what was really neat was the game really didn't hold your hand in any regard. So we must have played, I don't know, 10, 15 rounds. I never found the key card a single time. It's really, you got to kind of get out there and figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting game type, and I think it's got a lot of room to expand, especially once if I don't know if you have different maps that you're planning to add in, but I think it can make it really interesting. Or I look forward to seeing what is going to be added in the future, whatever plans.
Mm-hmm. I am, to be honest, I actually am not a first-person shooter type player. I suck at first-person shooters. I never choose to play them unless somebody pushes me into it. But I will always play something with especially you guys or something like that. I still had a lot of fun, even though I maybe got 3 kills and was just running around. It was a lot of fun, sneaking around, seeing people, but they didn't see me. And then just I actually had a scream jump scare from the zombies at one point.
Oh my god!
Just because of the way that they
so many times.
Yeah, just because of the way they spawn. They'll just spawn on. You go and walk into a house, and then they just 10 of them just pop up, and I just like freaked out.
I think it's a good point though, where you say that shooters isn't your typical gameplay style. I think one of the things that this game has that's really going to help it succeed is the fact that the stakes aren't insanely high. So you have games that have a similar escape mechanic, like Escape from Tarkov, but in those games there's such like a high level of pressure associated with every single playthrough because you're concerned about losing something. Whereas this, it becomes more party-esque, and so anybody can kind of jump in and not feel like it's not for them.
Yeah,
I can totally see that. Tarkov, the two things that turned me off of that game were always the cost and the fact that it's like, all right, well, if you die, you're like at a severe disadvantage.
Like, so if anything, this offers a much larger market for players, of any type.
For sure.
Yeah.
I also going back to like the game type, it's one of those things where like I like that everyone can kind of play how they want. Like some people were like looking for keys, some people were just hunting down other people, and like I know Joe was guarding the gate the entire time, so it kind of like had this real
you build your own role.
Yeah, it became a very role playing kind of thing, which made it more immersive at that point. Like I felt like I was like had to infiltrate and then like avoid the guards, and then I was like, do I go loud or do I go quiet? Like,
yeah. I actually will also say that I know it's not original to this, but I really enjoyed when we did knives only.
Yeah,
that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I could have done a lot of knives only. Like I think I was actually doing okay, just because I wouldn't get sniped as easily.
And that is one thing to point out, is that the combat mechanics are fleshed out really, really well. Because like the knifing felt exactly like any other first-person combat game with knifing. I didn't feel like I had to kind of reteach myself the mechanics. I just flew right through it. So it's a good design from a fidelity standpoint with the combat mechanics.
It was also really satisfying that zombies were just annoying enough. I could plow through them, but like if I ran into a horde by accident, I'd be like, oh fuck this, and then run away and then run into someone else and then lure those zombies into that player.
That's what I was exactly gonna say. Is like there were a few times toward the end when we were playing where I would just go directly into the middle of like the high spawn zombie areas just to kite them over to people.
Yeah.
Or what was it? There was one when we were doing the knives only and we were all starting from the same point. There was someone running to join our group of everybody, and they just had like a horde of like 12. So we had to pick them off.
And I had no idea they were behind me, I think.
Yeah, there was one point where I was chasing Cam and he just like stopped shooting at me, and I just kept shooting at him and he just kept dodging, and then at one point I stopped and all these zombies from out of nowhere behind me just like swarmed me, and it was a very nice trick that he pulled that I was very salty about later. Do you guys want to add anything else, or should we pop any questions?
I think joking aside, the only complaint I had was I had a hard time seeing parts of it. Just like I guess there's some sort of gamma setting on my own computer that I need to figure out, but it would be nice to just have a setting like that inside of each game. I look for that in a lot of games that I play, just because for some reason I can't fix the brightness on this stupid monitor. So that's my only genuine critique. Everything else about the game was phenomenal. It was so much fun, and I would love to play it again in like once it's in the finished state.
You did it. You made a fun game.
Thank you.
So Tony, why don't we just first start off by asking, I personally wanted to ask about our playthrough. Mainly, did you learn anything new from watching us, or did it go mostly as you expected?
So we did learn actually a couple things watching you guys do it, and it was just critiques that we made. Watching you, we noticed that the flashlights were actually working for some and not all. So some people could see them toggling, other people couldn't see them toggling, which when you're designing a multiplayer game, it's very in depth with multicasting and replicating to here and there. So we caught that, we were able to correct it.
Nice.
Also, that the game ended at 15 kills. which we had no
Uh,
idea about that either.
Oh
Which
yeah.
was, yeah, that was massive to us because I mean, we tested and tested. We'd go to 10 and we'd say, okay, it's but seeing that, I mean, we were able to correct it kind of on the spot. So, most of the things that you guys found, whether, accidental or physically seeing it yourselves, we were able to correct for the final product for May 15th, which is awesome and puts us way ahead of the game.
That's awesome.
nice.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to go in as clean as you can.
Yeah.
So little things like that, obviously, I'd rather find it now and get it done for the 15th than find it on the 15th and finish it by the 20th. It's just way better.
Okay, well, I have a question for you then. Since I mean, I don't really have a lot of insight on like tactical things about first-person shooters, but my question would definitely be towards aesthetic. Like, how did you land? I know it's pretty popular, but how did you land on a neighborhood setting and not something else?
So it's almost accidental because originally we were actually going to go with a forest and bury things deep in there, like only a few houses, and make it a bit more open. But after we kind
Hmm.
of started designing, you start with a block and you start with one strip of road, and it's like, okay, let me put this here and let me try to start building this out a little bit. And we started to come up with a name for the town. So it's kind of like anything else. Once you name it, now it's yours. We
Hmm.
named the place and it was like we called it Morristown for the first one. It's like, okay, well, it's a town, so now we have to build a town. And so we just kind of started building one house, and then lo and behold, you build 3 4 a night. You put this here, you put that there,
Hmm.
and it just starts to take shape. um, we scrapped the project probably 4 or 5 times, just restarted everything just because something wasn't right. And finally we just started doing this, and almost just naturally it just built itself. And we just loved the way it looked and loved the way it functioned and just stuck with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I liked the neighborhood feeling. I loved going into different houses, and I'm sure there's a lot of fun stories about why you guys chose those like specific secret pictures to be up in certain houses.
Yeah,
I think I saw a cat at one
I
point.
was just thinking about that. What
Yeah, I remember Kenny yelling like, "Oh, there's a cat in here! Secret cat!"
We did. I'll be honest with you. Some of them have meaning behind them. Some of them are, 3:30 in the morning. I'm designing this house, and once
Yeah,
I'm done, I get to go to bed. So let's just put this here to mess with people, type of thing. Um,
that makes
but yeah,
sense.
we tried to keep it fun. Like you were saying before, it's we want to be that game that's your cooldown. Not your main competitive. You're all hyped up and you feel stressed while you're playing it. And
yeah.
we just want to be that
Mm,
cooldown. Get in there with a few people, have some fun, relax. I mean, yeah, you're gonna. It has its tense moments when you're creeping around or trying to find this or that. I get that, but we hope it doesn't add the stress to a really hyper competitive game.
Yeah, that's actually interesting you bring that up. It's something that I have like minor issues with like the whole esports community now, because I remember playing some first person shooters back in the day and there was no ranked mode. It was just everyone at random levels all playing on the same map, and
Hmm.
I thought it made it it's one was way less stress because you're not like, oh no, my rank's gonna go up or down. It was just, you go in, you play, and you have fun, and you either do well or you have an adversary that you try to beat.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's, we came from Counter-Strike 1.5. I mean, those were our
Yeah,
first shooters. So, I mean, that was just, yeah, you jump in and you're either doing well or you're not doing well, but you're not really bothered by your rank going up and down. So we took that, premise into this, and, we just want it to be fun for people. We don't want it to be, like I said, hyper stressful or something they feel like they have to win. We want you to play 10, 15 games a night because they're so quick. And, you win a couple, you lose a bunch, but you still have a good time, and, you're relaxed.
nice.
So I'm curious. So we've gotten the chance to do a playthrough. I know that there's been a few iterations, probably from the version that we've had the opportunity to test. Are you going to, after this release, continue to stick with this? Do you have a roadmap, or are you moving on to another project?
So our goal is to actually update this game weekly, with bug
ooh.
fixes, small updates and large updates. But our hopes is to introduce a co-op mode into it relatively quickly, as well as more maps into it. A map design has actually already started for our first concept, which was putting you into the woods and the forests. That's already begun. The co-op mode shouldn't be too terribly behind that, but it's going to be a very loose co-op mode. We were kind of between two of them, whether it was going to be, pair up before you go in or pair up in the game. So we're actually going to go with the pair up in the game. So you can actually find people in there, communicate with them, and then it's a very loose alliance that you're going to have. You can trust them, you can both escape, or they can shoot you right at the end and walk out themselves. So yeah, it's a little more, I guess, Rust-esque than anything else. It just you can trust them, but there's nothing promising you that they won't do anything to you.
Got it. That's actually really interesting. We gotta get some tests of that once you got it running.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love the idea of betrayal.
We tried to keep. Obviously, we tried to keep it as. Realistic may not be the best word, but realistic, I guess, in that setting, to where it's like if that were to happen. Obviously, we hope it never does, but if it were to, everything is going to be loose. You're not going to have handholding. You're not going to know where things are. You're going to get turned around. You're going to get lost. There's no mini maps. There's no compasses. There's no saying who has what. It's really just kind of how you want to play it, how you want to react to the circumstances. And if you want to protect the exit from this person that's going to try to escape, you can. If you'd rather try to find one and beat them out, you can. If you want to creep around the entire map with a flashlight off just to try to get out, you can. It's really variable as to how you want to do it.
Yeah, I definitely felt that.
Going off of that, do you have any plans for like further down the line, like? Well, if once you start getting people playing it more and everyone kind of starts getting the gist of how to play it, you kind of lose that like that experience that first time where you're just like, oh, what do I do? Like, and then experiencing like figuring all of that out on your own for the first time.
Mm-hmm. So what we're hoping to do is, and actually this is kind of going back to a original discussion that my partner and I had. We want to enhance. There is a single player mode on this as well, which is basically just multiplayer with bots. We would like to enhance a single player mode as well, and then eventually move it into a multiplayer setting. Because originally this game, instead of key cards, was actually going to be a code, a 4-digit code to get out, and those numbers were going to be hidden all over the map, in different spots. Behind pictures, behind dressers. Painted here, moved there. It was going to be a magnitude of them, and then the door was going to have a color code on it. Yellow, green, blue, red, and that was going to be the order of the numbers in which you needed to put in to escape.
Oh wow!
So that's a secondary mode that we have, but that's more puzzle based. Again, I'm not basing this game off of trying to be like anything else, but if you look at the Resident Evil franchises, a lot of that is puzzle based. A lot of it's figuring this out, moving this, moving that. That's kind of the direction we're hoping to go with the codes is, move a statue 3 spaces to the right and it's going to unlock this here, which is going to give you a number. And then that number is obviously used on the door. So that's kind of another thing we're hoping to add in, which single player wise will be relatively quick and simple. Multiplayer is far more in depth with that mode.
So I think I kind of have a question to piggyback off of that. Pre-launch right now, what has been the biggest challenge? Like what has been the hardest thing during your development cycle? And then I guess post-launch, what do you anticipate your hardest or the most difficult thing being?
Pre-launch and designing really was the multiplayer facet of the entire thing. When we first jumped into this, I think, my partner and I, obviously this is only my second one that I've ever designed and his first one. So I think we kind of went in thinking it was going to be simpler than it was to do a multiplayer thing, not, just thinking, hey, I'm going to put this here and everybody will see it and it'll function for everybody the same way. That is the furthest thing from the truth in anything that you do multiplayer, because this person is the client, this person is the server, this person is that, and they need to communicate with one another. It's a lot of crisscrossing, and that was the hardest part in development. Thankfully everything works how it should. I'm sure there, with anything there may be a bug or two that we just happen to miss, but we are obviously going to be very on it and fix the things. Post-launch, I think it's really going to be content. I think we're trying to be as on top of content as we can be. And currently at this time, as we all know, with the quarantine going on and everything else, it's been kind of a blessing. It gave us so much time to be able to come down and from that standpoint, not from any other standpoint aside from having the time to design stuff. it gave us so much time because it was like we're home, we're not going to work, we can come down, we can do this and kind of act like this is our profession. Um, you know, Obviously when things start to turn for the better, which hopefully is sooner rather than later, obviously lives go back to normal and you start to, instead of having, 6-7 hours a day, you cut back to 2. And we would like this to become our main thing. I personally can tell you, speaking for myself, I would absolutely love it to become my main thing. But obviously we know, I mean, it's a community-based game and it all depends on how they take to it and what changes they want to see. And hopefully we're able to keep up with the demand of the content to keep the game fresh.
Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely. That I'm super excited to see what stuff you guys add. Like I said, just going through it with what was in there right now was already fun with this group. I would love to have done a full 10 people like multiplayer madness type scenario. So hopefully we can arrange that at some point in time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we think 10 people is really the cap for that place because it's just under 40 structures. Plus, I mean, things are buried in the woods, obviously, but you figure with 40 structures, it gives everybody kind of a safe spot, but it's still very chaotic because we have done it with 10 and if you're hearing shooting every single 2 seconds. So it's just, the map is no longer quiet. We did see a lot of people that are going through with 2 or 3 people. They say it's very quiet. I can promise you with more, it's really not.
It definitely interested me how like the map kind of felt like it was pulling you towards different, like the specific types of houses. Like even though that big warehouse was dropped in the middle, I don't think too many of us really like camped out.
I was
there.
scared of it.
Yeah, same.
You should be. There's a lot. There's a lot in there.
Yeah, Joe. I remember Joe going in and be like, "Nope, this is a bad spot," and it's like, "Cool, avoiding it."
I walked in, I just see like 10 of them. Like, nope, this is not for me. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it's funny you mentioned because it was one of our favorite effects because there's windows all over that building. So what a lot of people do, obviously, when they're going into that place, they look in the window first, which happens to aggro every single thing that's in there. So you'll look through the window, you'll be walking around, and then all of a sudden you'll see them start sprinting to the right because they're coming out the door to come at you.
Oh my god.
So that was, we loved that effect, the way that shook out.
So I'm curious. I know that with just any type of development, usually you'll have ideas or directions that you want to go in that just from either a resource or time standpoint is just not possible to pursue for initial release. Is there anything that you and your partner had really wanted to try and kind of get into this that you had to put on the back burner and might come back to at a later time?
The biggest thing we really wanted to get in was, more maps. Okay. As far as the function, just a very, very brief thing about us. I mean, we've done a lot of things together throughout our life. Both of us are very, slow moving when it comes to, it's like, oh, we can do it today, but let's wait a couple days and let's get this done before we do it. So we really accomplished, I feel, a lot of it, if not all of it, that we wanted before we put it out there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's the maps, more weapons would be nice. Like I said, more maps, more weapons. Other than that, though, I think as far as functionality, as far as the design, as far as the way that the game actually flows, I think we're actually very satisfied with the way it came out.
Yeah, and I would say I'd probably agree with that just from the playthrough, that if you get, a couple different customization capabilities in there, as far as, like you said, the weapons, the maps, anything that maybe even just the player models, stuff like that will really kind of expand it. But as far as the gameplay itself, I mean, it does feel like a complete package. So congratulations to you guys for being able to pull that off.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun. A lot of work, but a lot of fun too.
So Cam isn't here with us today, but he did leave us some thoughts that I'm going to share. He says, I enjoyed the game. I think the gameplay is straightforward, and alerting players when someone has the key card is great. It tells the other players that someone has a chance to win and that they can either run and camp the exit or keep looking for their own key card in hopes that the first carrier is killed. I also really appreciate how fragile everyone is. Getting shot shouldn't take an entire clip, which I completely agree. It adds to the skill of it and allows those who actually get the drop on the player to win. He says, I didn't like how sound attenuated in the houses. It made it extremely difficult to know where anything was, usually because the zombies were in the walls, but that's corrected already. And he says, I also think a grab/throw function would benefit that game a lot. The explosive barrels add a lot to the end, allowing players to camp and kill using them. I'd like to see players be able to place them where they want without relying on the collision physics.
Okay. It's actually a phenomenal thing. We talked about a pickup item plus an inspect item, to make it more horror-esque. It was actually something we scrapped, but it's not. We didn't scrap it because we didn't like it. We scrapped it just because it was very, very in depth and not incredibly needed for what we were going for. But it's a phenomenal thing to have. So I mean, it's definitely a good suggestion without a doubt.
His other main question was, is adding any other hazards, such as traps that slow or physical obstacles that the player has to actually maneuver around, a possibility for future versions, or I guess something that you've already discussed?
Yeah, so the second map actually that we're designing right now, which is in the forest, is going to actually, like for example, the first map when you stand in fire, it does nothing to you. That's on purpose. That's not, accidental or an oversight. We did it because we feel like the first time around, people are going to be confused, and I shouldn't say confused, but getting used to the game enough as to where more things in there are just going to make it, oh, why am I dying? Why am I getting hit by fire? Oh, that happened. And, I'd rather you just be able to kind of play it easily through, get familiar with it, and then escalate it. However, in the second map, which will be a bit more in depth, there is going to be things that are going to slow you down. There is going to be different undeads and different mutated things, different AIs. A different type of layout, far less houses, far more wide open exploring, far more messages. It's going to be a much more complicated map, because we feel at that point, hopefully people should have an understanding as to how it works, and then it's just making it a bit more difficult to actually get to the final result.
Nice.
I'm just curious. So this releases on May 15th. What resource are you guys going to be using for feedback from the community? Is it just going to be strictly through the Steam reviewing process, or do you have external sources that you're going to allow people to give you feedback through?
So we have obviously the Steam resource, which you're welcome to use. I put my personal. I don't stream a tremendous amount, but I did put a personal Twitch on there, which is just a way to come find me if you need to find me. Twitter is on there. You can find obviously our Discord through the Twitch or through Twitter. I'm also going to put a phone number up there, which is going to be open for texting, or honestly, it'll probably be open for calling too. But we want to make sure. I mean, I know that's like super excessive.
It's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah. and here's the thing. I mean, you open yourself up to, for every 10 people you get that may just text you and say, hey, what's this? Hey, what's that? You're going to get 100 that are just screaming at you on the phone, which is a possibility. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of the stuff out there, I mean, listen, gaming, mobile gaming, all that stuff is incredibly diluted. The market is just what the market is. And I think a lot of people feel like when they play something like, not to speak ill of any game, but I mean, if you get into like the Counter-Strike mechanics, people have been complaining of cheating for decades. You know what I mean? Not that it's, as prevalent as it may be, but it's just the perception that it's been built because they don't feel like the community listens to them. And I feel having more avenues for us to actually, here's this, here's a phone number, here's a Twitter, here's a Twitch, here's a Discord, and don't be shy to DM me, talk to me, whatever you want to do. I don't care. I want to hear it. I want to hear you say, hey, I like this and I don't like that. Hey, I really don't like this. Hey, whatever it is. I'm more than willing to build this for the community because, again, when you build for the community, more people come in, more people enjoy it, and it just turns out better for everybody instead of ignoring them and having a botched launch, which is something we do not want.
Yeah, it's a great philosophy, and I'm expecting it to work out well for you guys just because of the openness that you have.
So, to kind of start wrapping stuff up, our last question is actually a little off topic, and it's a question we ask every new person on our podcast. So are you ready for that?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so what was the first game you ever played?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
First game I ever played, man. I gotta go all the way back. Hang on. So it had to be Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. What was the first? Did you have the 64? Or...
No, dude, I was talking Nintendo, man.
Right.
I'm an old guy, dude, right? No, I mean, it had to be Mario. It had to be the first Mario that ever came out.
Wow.
But the first game I physically remember playing was the second Mario, which was a terribly horrifying game for me.
Like in difficulty, or just like it freaked you out?
It freaked me out as a kid, and I don't know why. I don't know if you've ever seen or played the second Mario for the regular Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, the art style was slightly different for that one, right? And like they had all the different enemies that you jumped on and stuff. That one was my favorite because it was so funky.
Yeah, but the first level, when you first started the game, the first level, you're dropping down from the sky, and it's like, okay, I don't know where I'm falling, and I fall, and then I'm picking things up that I've never done before, throwing things which I've never done before. It irked me. I don't know why it irked me, but I vividly remember not enjoying it, but still playing it all the way through.
Well, hey, Moofins, aka Tony, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you chat with us. Now is the perfect time for you to promote whatever you like, where people can find you on social media, what else you want them to check out, other things you might be working on, or if you just want to promote this game even more.
Sure. I mean, you can find us on Twitter, mainly is where we use most of our stuff, which is under Crichton Studios. Crichton is a merge of Chris and Tony, which are the two designers, Criton Studios. You can also find us in Discord, which you can find on the Twitter page, as well as Twitch, you can find on the Twitter page. The game Lockdown does launch May 15th. On Steam. Price point at launch is $9.99. We're trying to keep it low to allow everybody to get in on it. And just again to reiterate, we are building this for the community. We do want your feedback. We do want to hear what you have to say. And please don't hesitate to contact us with all the means possible on the Steam page. You'll always be talking to myself or Chris directly. And we'll be happy to listen and hear you out on anything you think that would make the game or community better.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you guys go check out that game and let us know what you think either on our Discord or our Twitter.
Again, thank you, Moofins, for coming through. And with that, I believe that's QWERTYcast out.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. It was a pleasure.
QWERTY